You can know 1,000 English words and still become silent when someone suddenly speaks to you. You can understand grammar, watch English videos every day, read articles, listen to podcasts, and even rehearse conversations in your head. But the moment somebody looks at you and says, "So, what do you think?" your mind can go completely blank. Your heart starts beating faster. Your body becomes tense. You begin searching for the perfect sentence. You hear yourself making a small mistake, and suddenly that one mistake becomes bigger than the entire conversation. You stop listening. You stop connecting. You stop being present. Now you are standing there, fighting with your own mind, while the other person is simply waiting for an answer. And afterward, the conversation continues inside your head. I knew what I wanted to say. Why didn't I say it? My English sounded terrible. Next time I will do better. But then next time comes, and the same fear returns. If this has happened to you, understand something important. Your biggest problem may not be English. Your biggest problem may be what happens inside you when you are asked to use English under pressure. Confidence is not the reward you receive after becoming perfect. Confidence is a skill you build while being imperfect. You do not need to wait until your vocabulary becomes enormous. You do not need to remove your accent. You do not need to speak like a teacher, a news presenter, or a native speaker. You do not need to reach some magical level before you are allowed to speak freely. You need to train yourself to remain present when your English is not perfect. Because the confident speaker is not the person who never makes mistakes. The confident speaker is the person who does not collapse emotionally because of a mistake. The confident speaker does not know every word. They know how to continue when the perfect word does not come. They do not always speak quickly. They know that a short pause is not a disaster. They do not try to impress everybody. They try to communicate, and that changes everything. Today, I want you to stop treating confidence as a personality trait that some people were born with and you were not. Speaking confidence is trainable. Your nervous system can learn. Your mouth can learn. Your brain can learn. Your habits can change. But you must stop waiting to feel fearless before you begin. Fear usually does not disappear first. Action comes first. Then your brain receives evidence. Then confidence grows. That is how the process works. So if English makes you freeze, panic, overthink, or doubt yourself, do not tell yourself that you are bad at English. Do not turn one difficult conversation into a judgment about your entire ability. You are not here to prove that you know English. You are here to use it, and from this moment, that is exactly what we are going to train. Lesson 1. Stop trying to speak perfect English. The fastest way to destroy your confidence while speaking English is to demand perfection from yourself in real time. You start a sentence, and before you even finish it, another part of your brain becomes a judge. Was that tense correct? Should I have used have been? Did I pronounce that word properly? Was that article wrong? Does my accent sound strange? By the time you answer one question in your head, the real conversation has already moved forward. This is what overthinking does. It takes a simple act of communication and turns it into an exam. Imagine trying to walk while analyzing every muscle in your legs. You would probably become awkward. Walking works because you allow the movement to happen. Speaking becomes more natural for the same reason. You need knowledge, yes. Grammar matters. Vocabulary matters. Pronunciation matters. But during a real conversation, communication must come before perfection. Ask yourself a simple question. When someone speaks your first language with a small grammar mistake, do you normally stop understanding them? Probably not. If someone says, "Yesterday I go market," you may immediately understand that they mean, "Yesterday I went to the market." The sentence is imperfect, but the message survives. That is the goal of communication. Your brain has probably created an impossible standard for English that you do not apply to normal human conversation. You may believe every sentence should sound elegant, fast, grammatically complete, and naturally pronounced. But real speech is messy. Even fluent speakers restart sentences. They change direction in the middle of an idea. They repeat words. They pause. They say, "Let me think." They use simple vocabulary. Confident speaking is not flawless speaking. It is recoverable speaking. That distinction is powerful. Suppose you say, "I have went there before." You notice the mistake. You have two choices. The first choice is emotional collapse. "Oh no, I made a mistake. They heard it. My English is terrible." Now your confidence disappears. The second choice is recovery. "I have been there before." Then continue. That is confidence. Confidence is not the absence of mistakes. It is the ability to survive them without turning them into an identity. You must learn to separate a language mistake from your value as a person. A wrong verb does not mean you are unintelligent. A pronunciation mistake does not mean you should feel embarrassed. Forgetting a word does not mean you are not fluent enough to participate. English is a tool. If a carpenter drops a hammer, the carpenter does not sit on the floor and say, "I am a failure." They pick it up and continue working. Treat language the same way. Here is a practical rule I want you to use from now on. During conversation, allow yourself to be 20% imperfect. Not careless, not lazy. Imperfect. Give yourself permission to use the sentence you have, instead of waiting for the sentence you wish you had. If you know a simple word, use the simple word. If you cannot remember exhausted, say very tired. If you cannot remember purchase, say buy. If you cannot remember postpone, say do it later. This is not weak English. This is intelligent communication. Your goal is not to show people how many difficult words you know. Your goal is to make your meaning clear. The moment you accept that simple English is still real English, your mind becomes lighter. And when your mind becomes lighter, speaking becomes faster. This lesson may sound simple, but it is one of the most difficult for perfectionists, because perfectionism often disguises itself as ambition. You tell yourself, "I just want to improve," but sometimes what you are really saying is, "I refuse to speak until I can guarantee that nobody will judge me." That guarantee does not exist. Someone may judge you. Someone may notice your accent. Someone may hear your mistake. And you still need to speak. Your confidence cannot depend on controlling other people's opinions. It must come from knowing that you can communicate even when the performance is not perfect. So the next time you speak English and make a mistake, do something different. Do not apologize unless the mistake actually creates confusion. Do not make a face. Do not stop the conversation. Correct it if necessary, and continue. Teach your brain that mistakes are normal events, not emergencies. Because every time you continue after a mistake, you are building something more valuable than perfect grammar. You are building emotional endurance, and that is the foundation of confident speaking. Lesson 2. Train your brain to respond before it overthinks. Many English learners do not have a knowledge problem. They have a response time problem. They know the words. They understand the question. They may even know several possible answers, but they wait too long. Why? Because they are trying to prepare the entire sentence before opening their mouth. That creates pressure. Imagine someone asking, "What did you do this weekend?" Instead of beginning naturally, your brain may start building a complete answer. "On Saturday, I visited my cousin. Then we went to a restaurant, and afterward I came home because I was tired." But on Sunday, you are trying to see the whole road before taking the first step. You do not need to. You only need the first few words. "I had a pretty quiet weekend." Once you say that, your brain gets another second. Then continue. "I visited my cousin on Saturday." Another second. "We had dinner together." Another second. Speaking confidence grows when you learn to build sentences while you are speaking. instead of demanding a complete script before you begin. This is how normal conversation works. You think and speak at the same time. One useful technique is what I call the 3-second response rule. When someone asks you a simple question, begin your answer within 3 seconds. Not because 3 seconds is magical, because it prevents your inner critic from taking control. If the question is, "Do you like living here?" do not search for the perfect answer. Start, "Yes, mostly." Now you are moving. It's convenient and I like the people. Your answer is happening. The biggest barrier was not vocabulary. It was starting. You must train the start. Confidence often lives in the first 5 words. If you can say the first 5 words, the next 5 become easier. To practice this alone, take ordinary questions and answer immediately. What did you eat today? What are you working on? What kind of movies do you like? What would you like to improve this year? What do you usually do in the morning? Give yourself no preparation time. Ask, answer, keep moving. At first, your sentences may be basic. Good. Basic is useful. You are training speed of access, not literary quality. There is another technique that removes pressure even faster. Use response starters. These are short phrases that give your brain time while keeping the conversation alive. For example, "That's a good question. I think for me, honestly, I'd say, it depends, but the main reason is, from my experience, I'm not completely sure, but..." These phrases are not tricks, they are bridges. When you use a bridge, your mouth begins moving while your brain prepares the important part of the answer. Native and fluent speakers do this constantly. They say, "Well," they say, "Let me think," they say, "I guess." They are buying thinking time. You are allowed to do the same. A pause does not mean failure. A pause is part of speech. But there is a difference between a deliberate pause and a panic pause. A deliberate pause says, "I am thinking." A panic pause says, "Something is wrong with me because I am thinking." Change the meaning. When you need a second, say calmly, "Let me think about that." Then think. You have not lost control. You have created space. Do not only study English by reading silently. Do not only watch videos and tell yourself, "I understand everything." Understanding is not responding. You need retrieval under light pressure. Set a timer for 5 minutes. Choose a topic. Ask yourself rapid questions. Answer each one immediately. Do not stop to correct grammar. Do not restart unless the meaning completely breaks. If you forget a word, explain it using other words. Suppose you forget umbrella. Say, "The thing you use when it rains." That skill is incredibly important. Fluency is not knowing every word. Fluency is knowing what to do when you do not know a word. A person who knows 10,000 words but freezes when one word disappears may communicate worse than someone who knows 4,000 words and knows how to explain around a gap. Train flexibility. If one road is blocked, take another road. That is what confident speakers do. And remember this, speed should not be your first goal. Responsiveness should. You do not need to speak fast. You need to start without unnecessary delay. Speak slowly if necessary. Use short sentences, but respond. Every time you respond before overthinking takes control, your brain receives a new message. "I can handle this." That message, repeated hundreds of times, becomes confidence. Lesson 3. Stop making every conversation about yourself. This may sound strange, because of course you are the one speaking. But many nervous English learners become trapped inside themselves during conversation. Instead of listening to the other person, they are monitoring their own performance. How do I sound? Was that wrong? Do they think my English is bad? Is my accent embarrassing? What should I say next? The conversation may be happening between two people, but internally you are standing in front of a mirror. That is exhausting. And it creates anxiety because all of your attention is focused on you. One of the fastest ways to reduce speaking anxiety is to move your attention outward. Become curious about the other person. Listen to the meaning of what they are saying. Notice their emotion. Ask a follow-up question. React naturally. When your attention is on connection, you have less attention available for self-judgment. Imagine you are talking to someone who says, "I just started a new job, and honestly, the first week has been difficult." A nervous learner may think, "What should I say? Difficult? Should I say how it is difficult? No, that's wrong. Maybe, why is it difficult? What if my pronunciation sounds bad?" But a connected speaker hears the human message. This person is struggling, so you respond to that. "Oh, really? What has been the hardest part?" That is communication. The grammar came from the intention. Your job is not to perform English. Your job is to understand and be understood. The moment you turn speaking into connection instead of performance, much of the pressure disappears. Think about the best conversations you have had in your first language. Were you thinking about grammar? Probably not. You were interested. You were surprised. You were laughing. You were listening. You had something you wanted to say. The language served the connection. English needs to become the same kind of tool. There is another reason outward attention helps. Anxiety grows when you treat every facial expression as a judgment about your English. The other person looks away. You think, they are bored because I speak badly. They ask you to repeat something. You think, my pronunciation is terrible. They pause before answering. You think, I said something stupid. You have no evidence. You are mind reading. Maybe they looked away because they were distracted. Maybe the room was noisy. Maybe they simply did not hear one word. Maybe they are thinking about their own answer. Do not turn every neutral reaction into proof that you are failing. That habit will destroy confidence faster than any grammar book can repair it. When someone asks you to repeat calmly. If they still do not understand, rephrase. That is normal communication. Even native speakers say, "Sorry, what was that?" Even native speakers misunderstand each other. Communication includes repair. You are not supposed to be perfectly understood every second. Another mistake nervous learners make is apologizing for their English before the conversation begins. "Sorry, my English is very bad." "Sorry, I can't speak well." "Sorry for my accent." Why are you creating a problem before there is one? You may think you are protecting yourself. You are actually lowering your own confidence. You are telling your brain, "I am entering this conversation as the weak person." Stop doing that. If you need clarification, ask for clarification. If you need the other person to slow down, say, "Could you say that a little more slowly?" That is not an apology. It is communication. If you do not understand one phrase, say, "What do you mean by that?" That is what confident adults do. They do not pretend to understand everything. They ask. You also need to stop assuming that your accent is the most interesting thing about you. It is not. Your ideas matter. Your humor matters. Your experience matters. Your questions matter. Your kindness matters. Your knowledge matters. Your personality matters. If you enter every conversation thinking, "They can hear my accent," you have forgotten that they can also hear your meaning. Let people meet you, not your insecurity. A confident speaker does not walk into a room saying, "Please ignore my weaknesses." They walk in ready to communicate. So the next time you speak English, give yourself one challenge. For the first 5 minutes, do not evaluate yourself. Do not ask, "How am I doing?" Ask, "What is this person saying?" Ask, "What can I learn about them?" Ask, What question would make this conversation more interesting? Move your attention outward. Confidence often appears when self-consciousness becomes smaller. And self-consciousness becomes smaller when curiosity becomes bigger. Lesson 4. Build confidence with small daily exposure. A lot of people want confidence without discomfort. They want to wake up one morning and suddenly feel ready. Ready to speak in meetings. Ready to talk to strangers. Ready to answer phone calls. Ready to give presentations. Ready to speak without fear. But confidence does not normally arrive before experience. It arrives because of experience. Your brain learns from evidence. If every time you feel nervous, you avoid speaking, your brain learns, English conversation is dangerous. Avoidance saved me. The next time, the fear becomes stronger. But when you feel nervous and speak anyway, even for 30 seconds, your brain learns something different. I was nervous, but nothing terrible happened. That is how fear begins to lose authority. You do not need to throw yourself into the hardest situation immediately. That can be overwhelming. Instead, build an exposure ladder. Start with something uncomfortable but manageable. Level 1 might be speaking English alone for 5 minutes. Level 2 might be recording a 1-minute voice note. Level 3 might be sending an English voice message to someone you trust. Level 4 might be asking one simple question in English. Level 5 might be having a 5-minute conversation. Level 6 might be joining a group conversation. Level 7 might be speaking in a meeting or giving a short presentation. Your ladder can be different. The point is progressive exposure. You are teaching your nervous system that you can survive more than it thinks you can. Do not underestimate small repetitions. One 30-minute conversation once a month is useful. But 5 minutes of speaking every day may transform you faster because your brain gets constant evidence. Frequency builds familiarity. Familiarity reduces fear. Another powerful technique is controlled discomfort. Choose one small action each day that makes you slightly nervous. Maybe order something in English. Maybe make a short phone call. Maybe ask a coworker one question. Maybe leave an English voice note instead of typing. Maybe introduce yourself to someone. The goal is not to impress yourself. The goal is to prove that nervousness is not a stop sign. Nervousness is a body reaction. That is all. Your hands may feel cold. Your heart may beat faster. Your mouth may feel dry. None of those sensations mean you should not speak. They mean your body has detected uncertainty. Let the sensations exist while you continue. This is an important skill. Too many learners wait for the body to become calm before speaking. Sometimes calmness comes after you begin. Your first sentence may feel difficult. Your second is easier. Your third is easier still. Do not judge the entire conversation by the first 10 seconds. Give yourself time to settle. And after every speaking experience, review it differently. Do not ask only, "What mistakes did I make?" Ask 3 better questions. What did I communicate successfully? What did I handle better than before? What is one thing I want to improve next time? This creates balanced feedback. If you only look for mistakes, your brain builds a negative story. I always fail. But that is rarely true. Maybe you were nervous, but you still answered. Maybe you forgot a word, but you explained it another way. Maybe your grammar was imperfect, but the other person understood you. These are wins, not motivational fantasies. Evidence. And evidence matters because confidence is built from remembered evidence. Keep a small confidence record if necessary. Write down moments when you used English despite discomfort. I asked a question in English today. I spoke for 3 minutes without switching languages. I handled a phone call. I made a mistake and continued. I asked someone to repeat and did not panic. These moments may look small, but they are bricks. Confidence is built brick by brick. Nobody builds a strong wall by staring at the empty space and wishing. You place one brick, then another, then another. Eventually, you stand in front of something that did not exist before. Your English confidence will be built the same way, not from one dramatic breakthrough, from repeated proof that you can speak, recover, continue, and survive discomfort. Lesson 5. Learn how to recover when your mind goes blank. One of the biggest fears English learners have is this: what if my mind goes blank? That fear itself can make your mind go blank. You begin a conversation already imagining disaster. What if I forget everything? What if I cannot answer? What if they are waiting and I have nothing? The brain feels pressure, and under pressure, access to language can become slower. So you need a recovery plan. The goal is not to guarantee that your mind never goes blank again. The goal is to know exactly what to do when it happens. That changes the situation completely. Imagine driving a car and getting a flat tire. If you have no idea what to do, panic rises quickly. But if you have a clear procedure, the problem becomes manageable. Speaking is the same. When your mind goes blank, use a recovery phrase. Give me a second. Let me think about that. How can I explain this? I know what I mean, but I'm looking for the word. What I'm trying to say is, these phrases keep you inside the conversation. They tell the other person that you are thinking. They also tell your own brain, I still have control. Then simplify. If the original sentence was too difficult, reduce it. Suppose you wanted to say, I found the experience unexpectedly overwhelming because I had underestimated how much preparation was required. Your mind goes blank. Do not fight for the original sentence. Say, it was harder than I expected. I wasn't prepared enough. Same meaning. Less pressure. This is a major fluency skill. You must become willing to abandon complicated sentences. Some learners become trapped because they begin a sentence they do not know how to finish. They say, the reason why I was, because the situation had been. Now they are lost. Stop. Restart simply. Let me say that differently. Then say it differently. Confident speakers restart. They do not treat restarting as humiliation. Another blank mind problem happens when the question itself feels too broad. Someone asks, tell me about yourself. Your brain says, everything? Which part? Where do I begin? So prepare structures, not scripts. For tell me about yourself, use 3 parts. Who you are now, what you do, one thing you are focused on. For example, I'm an accountant. I've been working in finance for about 5 years, and recently I've been focusing on improving my communication skills. Simple. For what do you think about this? Use opinion, reason, example. I think remote work can be very effective because people save commuting time. For example, I usually have more energy when I work from home. These simple structures reduce cognitive load. You are not memorizing a speech. You are giving your brain a path. One of the reasons people freeze is that too many possibilities appear at the same time. A structure reduces the number of decisions. Use small frameworks for common situations. Past event. What happened? How you felt? What happened next? Opinion. What you think? Why? Example. Problem. What happened? What you tried? What you need? Story. Situation. Change. Result. You do not need 50 frameworks. You need a few familiar roads. And there is one more recovery skill that is especially important. Learn to tolerate silence. Many learners believe that if they stop speaking for 2 seconds, the conversation is ruined. So they fill the silence with panic. Actually, a short silence would have sounded more confident. Try it. Ask yourself a difficult question. Pause for 2 seconds. Then answer. Notice that 2 seconds feels much longer inside your head than it sounds to someone listening. You are allowed to think. Confidence is not rushing. Confidence often looks like calm pacing. When you speak too fast because you are nervous, mistakes increase, breathing becomes shallow, and your mind becomes even more chaotic. Slow down. Breathe between ideas. Finish one sentence, then begin the next. You do not need to outrun your anxiety. You need to remain present. So the next time your mind goes blank, do not tell yourself, "This is the moment I feared." Tell yourself, "I know what to do." Pause. Use a recovery phrase. Simplify. Describe the missing word. Restart if needed. Continue. Every successful recovery teaches your brain something extraordinary. I do not need perfect control to keep going. And that is real confidence. Lesson 6. Stop comparing your English to other people. Comparison can quietly destroy years of progress. You hear someone speaking fluent English. They sound fast. Their pronunciation is smooth. They use expressions naturally. And instead of learning from them, you use them as evidence against yourself. Why can't I speak like that? They are much better than me. I've been learning for years. I should be further ahead. Then your motivation falls. Your confidence falls. And sometimes you begin avoiding speaking because you feel ashamed of your level. This is irrational. You are comparing your current chapter to somebody else's entire history. You do not know how many years they have practiced. You do not know whether they studied abroad. You do not know whether they use English every day at work. You do not know whether they grew up hearing English. You do not know how many embarrassing conversations they survived before they sounded confident. You only see the result. Then you compare that result with your struggle. That comparison is unfair. You need a better comparison. Compare yourself with your previous self. Can you communicate your ideas? Can you participate? Can you ask questions? Can you solve misunderstandings? Can you express your personality? Can you keep learning? Then your English is doing its job. You are allowed to improve without insulting your current level. That sentence matters. Many learners believe self-criticism creates discipline. They say, "If I tell myself I'm bad, I'll work harder." Sometimes the opposite happens. Constant self-attack creates hesitation. You begin associating English with shame. Every speaking situation becomes another chance to prove your negative beliefs. Improvement requires honesty, yes. If your pronunciation needs work, work on it. If your grammar is weak, study it. If your vocabulary is limited, expand it. But improvement does not require humiliation. You can say, "This is a weakness I'm working on," without saying, "I am terrible." Those are not the same sentence. One describes a skill, the other attacks your identity. Keep feedback specific. Instead of "My English is bad," say, "I need more practice speaking in the past tense." Instead of "I can't speak," say, "I hesitate when I answer unexpected questions." Instead of "My pronunciation is terrible," say, "I need to practice these 3 sounds." Specific problems can be trained. Vague self-hatred cannot. Another comparison trap is accent obsession. Some learners become so focused on sounding native that they forget the real goal. Clear speech. An accent is not a defect. Everyone has an accent. The relevant question is not, "Do I sound exactly like someone from London, New York, Toronto, or Sydney?" The relevant question is, "Can people understand me comfortably?" If yes, your accent is doing fine. Improve pronunciation where it affects clarity. But do not erase your identity in the name of confidence. You do not become more intelligent by sounding more native. You become a better communicator by becoming clearer, more relaxed, and more expressive. And there is something beautiful about speaking another language with courage. It means your mind has learned to build a bridge between worlds. That should not become a source of shame. So when you hear someone speaking better English than you, change your response. Do not say, "I'll never sound like that." Ask, "What can I learn from them?" Notice one expression, Notice how they pause. Notice how they explain ideas. Turn comparison into observation. Turn insecurity into information. Then return to your own path. Your confidence should not be rented from other people's performance. Build it from your own evidence. Yesterday you hesitated for 10 seconds. Today you hesitated for 5. Yesterday you avoided the conversation. Today you stayed. Yesterday you stopped after a mistake. Today you corrected yourself and continued. That is progress. Respect it. Lesson 7. Speak before you feel ready. There is one belief that keeps many English learners stuck for years. When I become more confident, I will speak more. It sounds reasonable, but for most people, the order is wrong. You speak more, then you become more confident. Confidence is a result of repeated action, not a permission slip that arrives before action. If you wait until you feel completely ready, you may wait forever, because the brain always finds another condition. I need more vocabulary. Then you learn more vocabulary. I need better grammar. Then you improve your grammar. I need better pronunciation. Then you work on pronunciation. I need to understand native speakers better. There is always another mountain. At some point, you must use what you have. You are not preparing for English. English is happening now. The conversation you avoid today is part of the training you think you need before the conversation. Read that idea carefully. The experience itself is the lesson. You cannot learn confidence only from books. You cannot think your way into courage. At some point, your mouth must open, and the first few times may be uncomfortable. Let them be uncomfortable. You may shake, speak. You may forget a word. Explain it. You may make a grammar mistake. Continue. You may pronounce something badly. Try again. You may need someone to repeat. Ask. You may feel embarrassed. Stay. Every time you remain in the experience, instead of escaping from it, you are training courage. Courage is not a dramatic emotion. It is often a very small decision. I am nervous, but I will answer. I am embarrassed, but I will continue. I am unsure, but I will ask. I am not perfect, but I will participate. That is how a new identity is built. You stop seeing yourself as someone who is bad at speaking English. You begin seeing yourself as someone who uses English, even when it is difficult. Identity follows repeated behavior. So create a rule. Never leave a speaking opportunity only because you feel nervous. You can leave because you are busy. You can leave because the conversation is inappropriate. You can leave because you genuinely do not want to participate. But do not let fear make every decision. If fear says, don't answer, answer one sentence. If fear says, don't ask, ask one question. If fear says, stay silent in the meeting, contribute one idea. You are not trying to become fearless overnight. You are trying to stop obeying fear automatically. There is a difference. You also need to stop collecting motivation without collecting experiences. You can watch 10 videos about speaking confidence and still remain afraid if you never speak. Information can guide you. Only action can condition you. So after this video, do something. Do not save the lesson for someday. Speak for 5 minutes. Record yourself. Call someone. Join a conversation. Answer 10 questions out loud. Use English in a small, real situation. Give your brain proof today, because confidence does not come from saying, I hope I will be better. It comes from saying, I did something I used to avoid, and then doing it again. There may come a day when you suddenly notice something. Someone asks you a question in English. You answer. The conversation continues. 10 minutes later, you realize you were not translating. You were not monitoring every mistake. You were not panicking. You were simply talking. That moment will feel like freedom, but it will not be magic. It will be the result of all the small moments when you spoke before you felt ready. All the awkward sentences, all the forgotten words, all the imperfect conversations, All the times you continued. That is what builds you. So do not wait for perfect English. Do not wait for perfect confidence. Do not wait for the perfect opportunity. Use the English you have. Speak with the voice you have. Start with the confidence you have, even if that confidence is only enough for one sentence. One sentence is enough to begin, because every confident speaker you admire once had a moment when speaking felt difficult. The difference is not that they never struggled. The difference is that they kept using the language until struggle became familiarity. You can do the same. Your English does not need permission to exist. Your accent does not need an apology. Your mistakes do not need a funeral. Let them happen. Learn, continue, speak, and remember the most important truth from everything we have discussed today. You do not build speaking confidence by proving that you will never freeze, never panic, never overthink, and never make a mistake. You build confidence by learning that even when those things happen, you know how to continue. That is strength. That is fluency. And that is the moment English stops feeling like a test and starts becoming your voice.